All right, guys, I'm seated here with Ivan Batanov. I met him a couple weeks ago over Instagram, actually. And then it turned out that when I went to Milan, his newfound company is going to be sponsoring the event. And we met there. I met his co-founding partner as well. And today we're going to talk about AI in coaching, where the space is going, and what that means for us coaches moving forward, and how to integrate that into our workflows and work more efficiently, and also deliver a better service net overall. So, Ivan, tell me, why are we here? Why did you found Relay? How did it get to that? How did you end up here?
Yeah, thanks, Dario. So first of all, again, like thanks for introduction. It's an honor to be here. Why we founded Relay? So I initially was a professional volleyball player. So I have a professional sports background. Played in the German Bundesliga for 4 years in the national team. Unfortunately, had to stop a couple of years ago, and then decided to stay close to the sport. Besides the sports, I have a background in data science, so it was obvious to kind of combine the both worlds with technology and the sports world. And we've been looking in there, and I've been kind of like trying to understand, hey, what are problems currently in the sports world? And looking back, I realized that whenever I had training programs, when the SNC coach were working with me, I was always getting my training programs with papers, and I really didn't like that. I really hated it. I think there was like probably 60% of the time when I forgot my pen, so I
Mm.
never actually tracked anything. And yeah, let's say I wasn't the guy who was the fittest all the time. I had a lot of injuries, so it bothered me. It was a problem that I wanted to solve. I wanted to give athletes just better opportunities to train. And I guess like the best way to do so is just go to the root of the training, so the SNC coaches. So coming from there, we talked with a lot of SNC coaches and try to figure out, hey, how are they programming? How are they communicating with their athletes? What are the current bottlenecks? And yeah, slowly realized that probably 70% of the world is still running on Excel sheets and paper. And that bothered us, which is why we created Relay. And Relay is the fastest way for you as an SNC coach to build and deliver training programs to your athletes.
Yeah, man. Funny you mentioned the paper phase. Every As a coach, I can assure you, everybody starts out in the paper phase, and you move to maybe Google Docs, then you move to Excel, and then you maybe find an app. And I've been on an app for the past 6 years of my life, and I've gotten a really good workflow inside that app. But since I'm a power user of that app, every single Saturday and Sunday for the past 6 years, I have been spending my time programming for clients. And when you power use a software like that, you find a lot of things that you don't like about it. Therefore, when you reached out to me about Relay and about the fact that your software is AI powered and it is optimized for speed of output, it is optimized for its efficiency, and also keeping them for the tech guys amongst us, you can basically program on Relay without leaving your keyboard. This is a big bottleneck. The net time you spend going from your keyboard to your mouse and back to your keyboard, that sums up if you spend programming for 20, 30 athletes. Therefore, I was really stoked when I heard about Relay. I tried it out, and the efficiency is just off the charts, and the AI thing is moving into the right space.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think you pinpointed exactly what we're focusing on, right? So after creating Relay, obviously there's other software, as you said. We're thinking about not only how we, you know, become a better software than other competitors, but also at the same time think about what is the current bottleneck in SNC software in general. And we went into a real rabbit hole and tried to figure out, hey, what are coaches currently spending their most, like their precious time on when they're on the software? And it turns out that the most, let's say like 80% or like 70% of the time when you're navigating an SNC software, you already made a decision. What I mean by that is that you often already know what phase you want to program, what kind of exercise you want to use, what kind of parameters you want to use, but it still takes a lot of time to turn that decision of yours into the software. So the idea of Relay is that we want to minimize that time between the decision of a program and the actual program itself. And we believe that with all the capabilities with AI, this is now more possible than ever, and will just become more and more feasible for us to essentially bring that time almost down to zero. And this not only, you already mentioned the keyboard first way of doing things manually. That saves a lot of time, of course. But then we just believe that we can take this to a whole other level where you essentially just, you don't navigate the software itself. You just say what you want, and the program essentially gets built by AI agents, which is essentially the hypothesis we have, and why we believe that Relay is interesting in the future for, or should be interesting for everyone in the SNC world.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Milan, like I said, we met. It was such a pleasure meeting up with you guys. Also, the other companies that sponsored the event. It was great connecting with everybody and networking in Milan. How was that event for you guys, and how did that form your current forecasting of where you guys want to go, and how do you guys incorporate in feedback from coaches who are using the software in the early adopters phase right now?
Absolutely. Great question. So I think it was always a pleasure to meet talented coaches. Like, I think in a world where, a lot of things are going digital, these in-person events are just much more valuable. So we really, really enjoyed the time in Milano. Met a lot of really, really talented people, including you, of course, but more to that afterwards. I think it was really valuable to understand one thing, which is there's just a few coaches who I think are very much aware of like where AI is heading and what the potential of AI is in the SNC world. And a lot of them are still very, I wouldn't say afraid of it, but they're just they still don't know exactly what they can expect from AI and how it will actually impact their work. And I believe that this is just one other task of ours, just to educate and see like, hey, guys, like AI can actually help you, and AI can make you much more efficient and just let you focus on the most important things, which is your athletes. So yeah, it was really, really interesting. Had a lot of great conversations. Did a small talk about what I just said. Yeah, really great experience.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was so intrigued about Relay. I've been in this ever since AI dropped. It helped me out with a lot of stuff, especially university in late stage. But also, I'm just following the entire space. My Twitter feed is just AI stuff. I mostly just listen to AI tech related podcasts these days. Therefore, I was so intrigued when you reached out to me and told me about this software, and I feel like we really kicked off on the right foot immediately, because we were kind of speaking the same language, and when I gave you guys feedback, the speed of implementation of that feedback was astonishing. Like, it actually would be expected with an native AI company. So that's what I really liked about Relay, and I'm really looking forward to the future.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned a couple of things here. I think, first of all, same thing, like for us, it was, we reached out to you because we knew that you were one of the forward-thinking coaches. We knew that you're working very heavily under your own system, and you're, one of the few coaches who is very loyal to their system and knows exactly which decision to make in which situation. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but we believe that coaches like you are just the ones who will use, or like who will get the most out of AI. So for us, it was, a no-brainer to contact you and see what you're currently doing and what you're building. And turns out you're building, even like without, knowing us, turns out you're building your own like, coaching brains and trying to integrate AI into your current workflow. So it was a perfect match. And yeah, I think again, like then coming together in Milano was really great, and talking in person. And I think there's some great things ahead between the two of us. And second point, I guess, like what you mentioned about the implementation of feedback. This is something we talk about a lot. Um, I guess the most like the way that we approach AI for SNC coaches, we also obviously try to approach internally as a company. So every process we have, from development to customers, handling customers, handling operations generally, we try to really improve with AI. We make it really efficient. And as you yourself already experienced, I think this helps us to move at a lightning speed. Um, so yeah, we're just living AI internally and externally.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and this all brings us to the reason why this video, this little podcast episode today is happening. Since we kicked it off so well, and we really moved on the same wavelength when it comes to AI and how the software should work, and a lot of my wishes for your software were heard immediately. Ivan, I'll let you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really, really happy to announce that Dario is joining Relay as a sports scientific product development consultant. So he'll be developing the product very closely with us, giving us feedback on the side, and yeah, driving the AI adoption wave in the SNC world. Once again, this is really, really cool because we believe there's a huge fit between the ways we work. We are really, let's say, good in implementation. Just shout out to Arne, really, really my co-founder, one of the top engineers in the world, probably in the AI space, moving really, really fast. So I would say we can build software really good. And now we thought, okay, now we need someone who actually can guide us in the right direction as well. Like obviously we know the SNC world, but there's not many coaches in the SNC world who are so forward thinking in terms of AI. And when we met you, Dario, I think that was just a perfect fit. So just a matter of time that this partnership would happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm so happy. We came. We had the same vision for where we can move this and how we can create a win-win situation in this partnership. And good that you mentioned Arne. Arne, your co-founding partner, the lead tech officer of your company. I will be making another episode with him where we will go into the nitty-gritty stuff of the deep tech world and how the software works and what other capabilities will come to the world of SNC coaching. So, Ivan, can you tell me what is your exact goal with Relay? What is the core problem the software will solve for a strength and conditioning coach, and where can that go apart from programming?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good point. So I think to understand what problem we're solving, we need to first understand where AI generally is heading,
Mhm.
and what is the current bottleneck. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning, if you program and you pay attention to how you program and your thought processes, you have a lot of decision made before you actually go into the software, or you're looking at some data and then you know exactly what you want to program, but then the time to finish that decision just is longer than it should be. And we're trying to really minimize that. We're trying to minimize the time of from decision towards finished program, or your adjustment in the program. And I think this is really interesting because we see a lot of shifts in the AI age, not just in the SNC world, but generally in the software world. And I think to understand how we approach it, I'd like to lay out maybe these three shifts, and to talk about how generally the AI world is changing. And shift number one would be that software is being inverted. And what I mean by that is that more and more software is being built for AI agents, for the AI itself, and not for the humans anymore. So previously, you as an SNC coach, you will always go through the menu, search for the exercises, adjust sets. There's millions of clicks before you actually get to your finished program. And in the age of AI, what we believe will happen is that you just tell what you want to do. Like, for example, you write or speak out, hey, adjust all the, or swap all the barbell back squats to front squats, adjust the set number to 5 sets, and maybe decrease the load a little bit, whatever. And instead of you having to go through all of these changes manually, adjusting things, you would just say it out, and the AI agent just takes that command and does it for you, while you can drink a coffee. And this way, you're just like saying out loud what you want, and the AI agent uses the software on your behalf, which is what I meant by it's inverted. So software is being built now for the agents and not for the humans. And this brings me to kind of like the second point, which is software, or like programming or using software, is becoming more and more conversational. So instead of learning how the software works, you just use natural language to explain what you want, and you get the result, which is really cool because not only in SNC world, but in other, even more complex industries, this allows people who have zero clue about the software still get to the results they want by just applying their knowledge and just articulating what they want. And the third shift we're seeing, and this is coming back towards again this partnership, is that coaches who work in systems, who understand exactly why they're doing things, they will win in this age. Because now that you already know what to do, and you don't, you can come to your decisions much faster, and these decisions can come to a result much faster, you can really scale up your decision making and just apply the system, teach it to an AI, and you will be, you're sure that the AI will do exactly what you would do, and just scale the way you work, right? So you don't have to think about how do I apply the system towards a program, but you'd rather say like, I want to work on the system, and then I give it to the AI, and the AI can use that system to scale your programming efforts, for example. And I just want to make clear here as well that oftentimes we get really misunderstood that we're taking away decision making from S&C coaches. This is not what we're doing. I think it is very important to understand that we're looking at the process after decisions being made. So we don't take away decision making, but we rather take away the manual, tinkering, or like using the software after the decision. And understanding this, obviously we're starting with programming. Coming back to your initial question, we believe that this can be applied to a lot of different use cases inside the SNC world, right? So program is obviously, let's say, the obvious one. It's the most tedious one. You need to do, a lot of clicking. It's a lot of repetitive work. It's really time not with the athletes, in front of your computer. But even like in later stages, I think the job of an SNC is also often to look at the data, try to, analyze it, see how to, build dashboards to communicate with their coaches, with their athletes. And nowadays, this takes a lot of time as well, because often you know exactly what you want to look at, but you still need to go into Power BI or to other software to build the charts, to build these visualizations. And we believe this can also be just outsourced to AI, where you just say like, hey, I want to look at the volume load over time compared for this and this exercise, and the AI can just build it out for you as well. So I think like thinking in these three concepts, even now AI is moving so fast and we're that early. I think like we have like the ideas that will go into these fields, but obviously there's probably much more, like many more fields we haven't even thought about, and it's very exciting because it's coaches like you who understand AI who will come up with new ways of using AI, and Relay then just becomes essentially the infrastructure for a coach like you to play around with it and make the most efficient out of your work.
Yeah, I got several thoughts on what you said. I want to address the most prominent one first, which is it's kind of this, and I've seen this line of thought many times, especially when people talk about AI and how things are changing in a negative way. I believe it's a very dogmatic way, or it's a very narrow viewing way to look at things. That when if you say, if you use AI, you're taking away the actual work, and you're just outsourcing and you're automating everything, and you don't really do anything. And I believe that I couldn't be further from the truth. AI is literally just a multiplicator of whatever you are. It's just like using a computer. A computer can do anything you want if you know how to use the computer. And it's the same with AI. It's bullshit. If you put bullshit in, bullshit is going to come out. If you put great stuff in, great stuff is going to come out. And it's already at the point where it can do so. For example, let's take, I believe this is the best example, writing. So writers, it's people who write news articles, whatever. The act of writing, the essence of writing, for example, is, or writing a program, is the creative output. It's the decision making. This is a thought process that happens in our minds. Writing what you thought, or writing out the program, clicking the buttons, is not a essential part of the creative process that gives you the value you have as a coach who has a mental model and a system in place on how to train people. Therefore, when AI comes and the manual clicking goes away, it becomes automated, or the execution layer gets automated, more time opens up for the thinking layer, for the decision-making layer. And that just emphasizes the creative part of your workflow. So AI being employed on everything is a good thing, because it allows people to do more. It allows you to think more. And I can tell you from my experience, ever since I've been working with AI, my brain has been more fatigued at the end of my day, because I do so much more thinking work. I have to be so precise with what I ask the AI to do. I have to be very precise with what I want from the AI. People throw in vague prompts, or they vaguely use the AI. They say, design me this. And the AI is just going to give you a general vague design or output. So you have to almost become even more precise with your input than before. Because before, if I go, for example, on Canva and I'm creating a post, I'm still creating my post manually at this point, but if you're creating a slide deck, whatever, and you go in and you start building it. So you build it one element, one frame, one piece of media, one text box at a time. That gives you time between thinking, execution. You kind of intersperse it. But when you have to front load all the decision making, all the design work, all the thinking work, then that process becomes highly accentuated. So that is my thoughts on how this AI stuff is going. AI is not going to replace our thinking. AI is literally just going to replace our manual execution work, and that is the tedious work. That is the annoying part of it anyways. Then point number 2, to the inversion of software. We see this trend where when you can speak in natural language, you are way more elaborate with what you're saying. Because if you're writing, you delicately pick your words, so you're very limited to your descriptiveness of things. Therefore, if the only logical way to use AI is with natural language, because you can really describe small little details of what you want by tackling every little corner of the element you're talking about. And therefore, at the end, when only one agent, one interface will be used, you will have it on a phone, you will have it in your glasses, you will maybe have it in some ear pod. You will be able to speak to your computer, or have the agent act on your computer on your behalf at all times. And the bottleneck will move from, am I sitting at my desk, or does my laptop have battery, or are my eyes tired, will move to, is my brain still functioning? Can I still make smart decisions right now when I'm talking? And I'm very excited for this upcoming trend, where your brain capacity becomes the ultimate bottleneck. Because at some point, if I'm sitting on this desk, I have to get up and move a little bit. Otherwise, I start having a headache. But imagine if you could walk on a treadmill in whatever gym you want, and you have these glasses on, and you're working on your project while walking on a treadmill. You're working on this project while walking through the woods, through the forest, connecting with nature, getting your cortisol down, and still being productive. I'm so excited for this future. Like, I don't know how you're thinking about this.
Absolutely. I mean, I completely agree. We always like, since we're in this position, we always like think about, okay, where are we heading? Like, assuming every coach is now going to be, for example, using the new way of, programming using AI, being able to just articulate what they want, and the agents go and use the software and build the programs out. It will be just like such a funny time where you'll see like SNC coaches just driving from like one gym to home, and they maybe think about one idea they had, and they just pop up their phone, they start recording and say like, hey, I have this idea, maybe create these two exercises, add them to the next session. Or like, you're in the gym, you want to make quick adjustments, you're just speaking out what you want to do, and it's adjusted. So it's super interesting, like how this will generally impact SNC, not only like how they work, because I guess like they will just work less manually and more, as you said, like on the thinking, on the systems, but also it will be interesting to see how the interaction will be then between the athletes and the coaches, because theoretically now the coach has much more time to focus on the athletes. And I believe that this is going to be a great thing. I mean, I think there's going to be much more focus, much more heavier focus on like interacting with your athletes, because you just have like much more time, number one. And number two, if everyone is like super fast in programming, you still need to somehow stand out, of course. And I think like just this athlete coach interaction is going to be more and more important as well.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. It's great you mentioned that. Because one thing AI is not going to replace is the interpersonal connection you have to another human. I know there was these reports, somebody tried to marry their ChatGPT or whatever. Like, there's some weird people do build relationships or feelings to their AI agent or whatever. But the typical athlete is not going to be. Let's say that the average athlete is not going to be a AI productivity power user like knowledge workers will be. Therefore, that athlete is still going to heavily value the connection to their coach. Therefore, this will be even emphasized more. AI will bring out the true essence of human relationships and human creativity, and this is too exciting in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just as I mentioned before, it is, you value in-person meetings much more now. Like, if you just think about like, at least like I mean, we might be also in a bubble where we're spending a lot of time in the tech, but the more you like, the more I started to like use AI generally, like even internally in the company, the more I just value to go out and talk with people, have a nice stroll around the forest or something, and having conferences, talking with them, in person. So I think that just translates to the same, with athletes and coaches as well. And just maybe adding towards that, I know I myself, but also I have a lot of friends who are athletes now and still playing on the highest level. And I was talking with them and asking them like, hey, like, are you do you want to have like training programs from an AI, like where the AI makes a decision? And most of them will say no, because like they still value the coaches. Let's say even like decision making in the edge cases, and even like being flexible enough to adjust towards needs. And it's just, everything is just more personal. And I think it will not go away. Like, again, as you already said, AI will just take away the manual work, the not interesting work from SNC coaches. So so you have much more time to focus on the interesting work. So making on thinking more, working on your systems, being with your athletes. Yeah. So you brought it to the point.
Yeah, and one mode, one reason why the human coach will not necessarily be replaced so quickly the human programmer, the classic, the typical online coach who never sees his people, or generally just doesn't train people in person, and only does online programming, that person might be in danger, because that person, like, their value proposition is the program. It You can only build so much of a relationship by texting over WhatsApp, or having a weekly check-in 30-minute call. You can only build so much relationship doing that. And as AI advances, we're going to get to the point, and this is going to come a lot faster than people think, where you will just wear glasses as a coach, or maybe OpenAI will drop a physical product where you have a little, let's say something like this, like a little thing, the way that, like when you go to the doctor, and they have always a dictation device, and
Yeah,
while they are talking to you, while they're making observations after the questions, and checking you out, they always speak to their device, and then afterward they transcribe it, and then they put their notes down instead of typing them during the session, at least for some physicians. So what I'm trying to say is, at some point you will have a little device, and as you are coaching that person, you quickly speak into your device. That device sends that transcript of what you said to your main agent, and that main agent orchestrates where that information goes. And then you're going to have a camera set up, or the camera is going to be in your glasses that you wear while coaching somebody, and those glasses will pick up on biomechanical deviations, or stuff like that, or pick up on maybe even emotional responses the athlete is displaying, in terms of changing body posture. And it's just going to subtly tell you that on your screen, where after you said this, the body posture changed. Ask this question to open up that topic, or to dig deep, or it's going to tell you leave that topic alone. The athlete hasn't bought into the process, or doesn't trust you enough yet to speak about that. So the AI is going to help you do your job better. It's going to help you connect better with people, and all the biomechanical coaching, the biomechanical analysis, the interpretation of biomechanical data, stuff that a computer can do, the stuff that a computer can compute itself, that will fall away, and your moat is going to lay in the emotional connection, and managing the person per se.
absolutely. And also to add to that, to know exactly what to do, because obviously the AI is good in analyzing the data and looking at it, but if you don't know what good it will bring you, then it doesn't matter how good the AI analyzes the data. You also still wouldn't, use the data or use the insights from there. So I think, again, like, another point is that AI can, as you said, like, it's almost like maybe like even driving like a car. Like, if you have, if AI is the car, and you cannot drive, a Ferrari isn't going to make you faster, going from place A to B. So you need to really also understand how to use AI, and what questions to ask, and how to integrate it into the workflow. And I think one analogy of, like, I mean, the ones who watched Marvel movies, they know Jarvis from Iron Man. I think this is a very accurate analogy, that how we believe it will be in future, where, as you already mentioned, like, you have like one single interface, one AI agent, and you're speaking to it, and it can control all the software that you would control, like all the things that you would control, and would just like do things on your behalf and report back to you. So I think that might be an interesting future, and this is how we kind of see, also Relay playing its role, where Jarvis is just being able to use Relay. So not only the humans use Relay, but also an AI can use Relay. Yeah, but I mean, you already started, and that's why we were approaching you as well, because you're working already with AI. You have these systems in place. You have your coaching brain in place, and I wanted to maybe ask you about this. That might be interesting to kind of, talk about how your coaching brain works and what is a coaching brain and how did you set it up and how are you using it?
Yeah. So the coaching brain is just one part of my entire AI workflow. So the way I've set it up now, and I'm going to get into the coaching brain later, is I have one agent that I speak to, which currently is as long as I got usage, it's Cloud Code. If my usage runs out, it turns into Codex. So I have one agent that I speak to on my phone or on my computer. That agent, that interface of Cloud Code can access my coaching brain, which is hosted in Obsidian. It can access my Notion, so all of my clients database. It can access all of my force plate data even. So the Hawkin Dynamics has a data API that directly can route all of the data towards my coding agent. I have my Google Drive with all my videos of my athletes, for example, from their assessments, their force plate assessments, or just general the plyos, their sprints, also hooked up through the Cloud Code plugin to that agent. And also, if you have if you're on a team, you have a Slack or any other software. So my coding agent, my you can use whatever agent you want. That uses all of these softwares. So when I want to make a move on my laptop, I tell the coaching agent what needs to happen. If I, for example, today's session, okay, I assessed an athlete, a basketball player today, did all the force plate jumps with him, and after the session, instead of manually going and typing all the notes about what I thought about what I thought the athlete is like, what was good about his movement, what is bad about his movement, where his deficits are, what his training needs are going to be, and then after analyzing the software manually myself, the force plate data myself, instead of doing all that, I tell the agent exactly what I thought about the athlete, what I think the athlete will need after analyzing the data manually. And then I let the agent also analyze the data. I let the agent analyze everything. And how does the agent know what to do with all that? That is routed from my coaching brain, because inside of my coaching brain, I have set up all of my workflows. I've set up how I think about things. It's a coaching brain is at its core a collection of knowledge on my business, what I do, what I believe, and all the sports science topics that are relevant to the tasks it will do. And that coaching brain setup, it takes quite some time, and the density of information, the quality of information you have inside of your coaching brain, the overarching system prompt you have for your agent, and the workflows you have described to your agent on how you send data back and forth, that determines the quality of the output. So that's why you really have to get into this stuff, otherwise you will not have an efficient workflow. And you have to be careful of not falling into a fake productivity trap where you're looking at fancy charts and you're looking at fancy coaching brain graphics, but you're not really creating anything. So the KPI, the key metric to look for is output. How much are you creating? How much are you doing? How much money making activities, quote unquote, are you doing? So that's kind of my whole process, my system behind my coaching brain AI workflow setup. And you told me also you guys have a great setup. You actually inspired me to do a lot of stuff. Is there anything you want to share on that?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, you're probably one of the only ones, at least like the only one we spoke with, who has such a setup. And there's a couple who are going into this direction, setting up their coaching brain directly in Claude. There's a lot of people maybe doing projects on Claude where they put in files of like their programs, their onboarding forms, images, and they use that sort of a coaching brain. But what we try to do is, we have two approaches towards that. On Relay, every coach will have an own coaching brain as well. So you have the possibility to create it on Relay. You can plug in your, coaching philosophy, your coaching language, the way you choose exercises, the way you do periodization. All of that stuff can go into Relay, and Relay guides you through how to build this coaching brain, which then gets plugged into the agents you control on Relay. So then when you speak and when you know, guide the agent to do stuff, it actually understands the way you speak because it's just plugged in into the coaching brain. So this is, the one flow we're looking into where people can create their coaching brain on Relay and essentially have their whole ecosystem on our platform. But then the second one is more towards, guided towards your system where you already have an external coaching brain, you already have a system in place, you already have an agent that is connected to all of your tools. But the missing piece for that agent is the delivery of the programs. So once the agent, what you just described, knows all of these information and you brainstorm with it and you come to a decision, now the agent can also go to Relay, taking this decision, and then transforming this decision to a done program and deliver it to the athletes. So this is the second setup where it's almost like you bring your own coaching brain versus like you're creating it on Relay. And this is why we see Relay really being the infrastructure for SNC software in the future, where AI agents, regardless of it's our AI agents or your AI agents, can work without friction on the software. But yeah, I think it's exactly it's very, that's why I'm super happy that we partnered here, because I think the visions are aligning and it's super hard for us to find coaches who are thinking in this way. I feel like we have to almost educate people to say like, hey, how do you use AI? And I hope we can get a couple people more intrigued and more interested about this topic.
Yeah, definitely. We're absolutely still in the early adopters phase, and it's going to take some time for people to adopt to this for this to become the new standard. I think that is where really stuff is going to change severely, and also for clients or for people seeking coaching services, starting to understand how maybe they should be looking for a more efficient coach. Because and that brings me to the second point, where why I was so hyped about Relay, because this execution layer was the missing link. The transcription into a training program. I was thinking about having my agent create PDFs. Like he would create beautiful PDFs, but I can't switch from an app to back to PDFs, because then it's another PDF every single time. You have to send them out and all that stuff. So the Relay being this frictionless execution layer, and being so easily usable by my agents, that is absolutely why I'm so hyped about this. So, fantasy question for you: what is your prediction, or what do you think in 5 to 8 years the space is going to look like?
Wow,
Maybe
that's a.
when we
I feel.
AI.
Yeah, I feel like AI is moving so fast. The question would rather be like, what's the space going to look like in 1 or 2 years versus like 5 to 8. I feel like in 5 to 8 years, there's things that we cannot even imagine. I mean, if you think about when ChatGPT actually launched in, I think, 2021, 2022, where it got like more adopted, this has been only like 4 years. So if you ask us now, like, what happens in 5 to 8 years, I really cannot say what will happen. But what I do know is I think AI will just get much more intelligent. And again, like, I think again the shift that we're seeing now already, where software is being inverted, I think in the future it's going to be just much more present, where the major interface for humans to interact with software is going to be natural language through your agent, through any agent. So the input layer is always going to be text or voice, the agents will then use the software. The software then displays the output back to the humans. So input is primarily going to be natural language. Output is still going to be visual. I think that's just the best way humans will, work. It is for us the easiest way to communicate through, or like do things through talking. And the easiest way for most of us is to look at things visually. So in future, I think this is going to be the standard where everyone will have their own agents. Everyone will be talking with them. This is going to be primary way to interact with software. Agents will interact with the software. You get back the results visually. This, of course, I think, let's say, brings a couple things to the table. So obviously, coaches who know how to articulate and know exactly how to communicate what you think, what you want to do, what your system is, very easily, they will win. I think this is very important. I think it becomes more and more important to understand your system and how to articulate it. And the ones who don't, I think will just have to say get left behind, because there's going to be, if a coach now can take 30 or 40 athletes, or even 10 or 20 athletes, because they don't have more time to take the double amount, AI comes in and they can take suddenly like 50 or 60 athletes. These athletes are coming from somewhere, and they probably will come from somewhere from guys who maybe aren't using AI, who aren't as fast as the other coach, aren't as like personalized. So I think it will just have sort of a shift where coaches who adapt to new technology will win in the long run. We see it a little bit in the coding space now. I think this is very extreme. Probably the coding space, or the software engineering space, is the one that is impacted the most by AI, where there's a huge group of people there's a group of people who is against AI, and they still really want to code everything manually, and they're slowly getting replaced by the engineer besides him, who is using AI to a maximum and just produces 100x more output than the guy besides him. So I think this is going to be very similar, where there's going to be let's say like smaller group of people who adopt to AI the fastest, can produce more output, and then the guys who don't, they will just be slower than everyone, and then it becomes kind of the question, and this is maybe, I'd love to hear your opinion around that. It becomes the question is like, how much demand do we have for SNC? Like if like everyone just 10x's their output as an SNC coach, are we going to surpass kind of like the demand for SNC, and where do we then fall short? Like that's maybe an interesting question.
Yeah, but before I answer that, I also want to very importantly mention that obviously, just like in any other case in human history or in any other industry, there's always going to be people who will misuse the tool, people who will not experience this amplification of creativity being the bottleneck, or because they will use the AI in a very generic manner, and they will just copy paste stuff and just have vague instructions for the AI, and still dish out AI programs that are based on bullshit input to their athletes. And I believe that athletes and clients and humans, as the general understanding for how AI works, and or what quality is, as taste and judgment of the general population increases, those people will get filtered out. So I believe it's to everybody's own decision how you use these tools. If you're just going to use a tool to bullshit, everybody has a feeling for what a ChatGPT text is these days. If there's a caption on Instagram, if you feel like it's AI written, people just skip it. Like, people have already developed that taste, and that's going to be the same in every single industry or corner of business. Therefore, I believe that the generic users are going to be filtered out anyways by means of natural selection. And then to your question about the demand for SNC, well, it's the private sector. I can speak from my private sector perspective. the private sector SNC coach in general does not have the same overflow of clients, just like, for example, a bodybuilding coach would have, since the niche is smaller than in bodybuilding. And it depends on where you are in the world, but especially in America, most of the athletes that are active in a team sport, they already have a team sport SNC coach. So that person will for sure remain. In the private sector, it's going to be interesting. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't tell you if the demand will increase. What I do know is that marketing means and delivery means will improve there, and that might lead to a better saturation of stuff. And I don't know, maybe the demand for training might increase if, for example, all of a sudden super athletic robots start playing sport. And people think they have to catch up, and that's why they get with an SNC coach. But other than that, I can't really predict what's going to happen. So to conclude this, this little talk of ours, I want to give my super fantasy prediction for what's going to happen down the road. So now the space is moving to where typing and manually inserting what you want the software or the computer to do is not the bottleneck anymore. It's your speed of thought. It's your thought process. It's your creativity. It's your creative output. But that is also a bottleneck, because the way the brain works is when you want to say something, you have a language center in your brain that has to come up, that has to put your idea, which already is created before you have the sentence for the idea, has to put that into words. And that process also takes time. You will know if you sit down 4 hours, 5 hours with somebody and just have a super flowing conversation for the entire 4 or 5 hours, apart from your attention span, your talking will be fried. Your talking center will be fried. So that is going to become the bottleneck eventually when everything is controlled through natural language. So my prediction is that the way to alleviate that bottleneck, you will have to implant a chip into your brain, and that chip will read your idea without you having to put it into words. So the only thing that is left to do as a knowledge worker is think. And you don't even have to create, you won't even have to describe your idea anymore. And that's where productivity will reach its absolute peak in humanity. That's my prediction. Whether you get a chip implanted in your brain, that is everybody's own decision to make. I personally wouldn't at this point right now, but who knows what happens in 10, 15 years when technology is at a crazy point. And I don't know. It's just exciting to see what's going to come. Any last words?
No, I mean, that's actually, I mean, if you take away always look at it from an input-output layer, I agree. If you go through further, at some point, the input layer will be thought. And there's some people around the world who are trying to build chips. Let's see how they will do it.
Yeah. All right, Ivan, thank you so much for your time. Great conversation. I'm so looking forward to our partnership and where Relay is going to go. Guys, if you want to try out Relay, you can sign up with the link in the description. Use Saison50 to get a 50% discount on your first month. And yeah, time to program.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having the time. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to a partnership.
Peace.